Hello and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Serena and I'll be your MC for today. You all can hear me, right? Okay, so welcome to Sunway Psychology Club Anxiety Awareness Month webinar. We would like to thank all of you for taking your time to be here today. So today we have a very special guest today. Please welcome Dr. Joel Law.
Hello.
Hello.
Thanks for
Hey,
having me,
Dr.
guys.
Joel.
Hi.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good to hear.
Okay. So Dr. Joel is currently a director and clinical psychologist at the Mind Psychological Service and Training. Furthermore, he is the vice president of the Malaysian Society of Clinical Psychology. Today, Dr. Joel will be sharing his experience and giving his insight on anxiety. If you have any question for him, please feel free to enter the code 875517 on Mentimeter, or you can scan the QR code over here as we will be having a Q&A session later. All the questions will remain anonymous. The link and code for Mentimeter will be provided in the comment section in case you miss it. Just in case of poor connection, you can always join back this webinar using the same ID. Now I will pass the floor to Dr. Joel. Welcome, Dr. Joel.
Hi. Thanks for having me again, guys. I'm just going to share my screen to share some slides with you guys, okay? Just give me a minute, bear with me. Now, where are my slides? Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to get started now. Okay. Right, so today I've been asked by the Sunway Psychology Club to talk about anxiety, right? And I think that's something that's actually quite important. And I thought this picture was actually quite apt because I think a lot of people are very anxious right now or very panicky because of the MCO, because of the lockdown, because of COVID-19. So I thought this would be a good place for us to talk a bit about anxiety and then see what are the signs and symptoms. Is it really a bad thing? And also some things that we can do to help manage ourselves a little bit better and see how we can overcome the anxiety that we feel. Okay? All right, let's get started. So I think the first question that we want to ask ourselves is like the slide title says, like, is it really a bad thing, right? I'm sure if you guys go on Google and you type in anxious or anxiety or what have you, right, and you will see that a lot of the finding or results that you find are going to be very negative, very fearful. I mean, look at all the pictures that I've listed down here, right? It's all someone is very kanchiong, they're very nervous, they're scared, you know, it looks like they're going to explode anytime soon, except for Mark Zuckerberg there, like, you know, he looks stony, right? But I think that's the kind of perception that people have of anxiety, right? Generally speaking, it's a bad thing, it's a negative thing. And even when you look at the most common words that are associated with anxiety, if you go online and check it out, these are some of the words that you see, right? It's a disorder, attention, temper, fear, despair, agitation, headache, loneliness, moody, right? It's almost always associated with negativity, right? So anxiety is a bad thing. Anxiety is not a good thing. We shouldn't want it to happen, right? And if you look online, you type in like how to what is anxiety, more often than not, you will see people conducting like workshops or training programs to try and overcome anxiety. And it's come to a point where people keep thinking that anxiety is a bad thing, right? So my question for all of you guys here today is this, right? Is anxiety really that bad, right? And I'm here to argue that it's actually not, right? You know, I'll tell you guys why in the next slide. Now think of it this way, right? So you go back to your caveman ancestor times, right? You know, you're walking around the jungle, you're trying to look for some food or some berries or some strawberries to eat or whatever it is, right? Or in Malaysia, we eat durian, right? And you see a couple of bears running towards you, okay? Now, the reason why we have anxiety is because it allows us to take care of ourselves, to prepare ourselves for such an eventuality, right? So if we see something that threatens us, we're able to do something about it, yeah? So can you imagine if we didn't have anxiety? If anxiety was really that bad a thing, right? The bear comes out, we look at the bear looks at us, what's going to happen, right? And I think most of us will know that this is going to happen, right? We're going to be eaten, right? Which is going to be a bad thing, right? And I think us right now, our ancestors from 50 years ago, 1,000 years ago, and things like that, our main drive or main goal is to preserve our health, preserve our ability to be alive, in that sense, right? So honestly speaking, anxiety is a good thing because when we see something that threatens us, Oh, hang on, the message just popped up. Okay. When we see something that threatens us, right, we want to be able to run away. We want to be able to react to the situation. And we're only going to be able to react to that situation when we know it's anxiety provoking, when we know it's stressful, when we know it's something that scares us or can cause harm to us, like, in that sense. And when we can do that, what you're going to get is that our ability to procreate, to continue on our legacy, to create multiple generations, to be us right now, like today, is preserved, like, in that sense. So if our forefathers in the past were never anxious, were never scared before, all of us wouldn't be here right now, right? So hopefully this is something that gets you guys start thinking about that possible, that idea, like that anxiety is actually not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing, right? Now, if it's such a good thing, like what I'm saying right now, why is it that every one of us, or not every one of us, like that's wrong to say. So many people think that anxiety is a bad thing, it's something we should avoid, we should try to control or manage or mitigate, right? So my first opening statement to you guys is that anxiety is not a bad thing, it's actually a useful thing, right? So this next slide I'm going to share with you guys is to tell you what part of anxiety is bad, in that sense, okay? Now we look at the same two bears, right? It's very normal and it's a human reaction for all of us, right? When we see bears or we see something that scares us, bears, tigers, thieves, criminals, whatever it is, then when we see something that stresses us out, we're going to have a spike in the feelings that we have, right? Anxiety is going to shoot up over time, okay? Now, when that happens to all of us, right, we have two options. Like this, not the slide previously, I said, you can either run away, right, or you can fight the bear or the whatever that scares you, typically speaking. So this is what you call your fight or flight response, right? The fight or flight response basically means that when you're encountering something that scares you, encountering something that makes you afraid or nervous, whatever it is, you want to escape or you want to remove yourself from the target stimulus that scares you, in that sense, right? So be it a bear or whatever it is, okay? Now, if we successfully do that, we successfully run away from the bear, so then they can't eat us anymore, or we successfully kill the bear, right? So now the bear becomes our dinner, for example. It's normal that anxiety will drop, right? That makes sense, okay? And that's normal for every one of us, right? That's our life, right? We encounter something that scares us, and then it goes away, then we feel better about it, yeah? So same goes if we are in a traffic jam, and then suddenly we think that someone from behind is going to hit us because we hear the brake screeching, our fear spikes up, yeah? But after that, nothing happens, it's okay, no one hits us, then our fear comes back down again. So it's a very normal process, okay? So remember, I started off by saying, what's the bad aspect of anxiety, right? This is the bad aspect of anxiety, okay? Now with bears and tigers and all that kind of things, we can run away from, right? Nowadays, do we have any bears and tigers anymore? We do at Zoo Negara. But if you've been to Zoo Negara and you've seen the tigers there, or you guys are from Sunway University, right? You've been to the Sunway Zoo, right? And you've seen the tigers there as well. They're not the scariest things in the world. Half the time they're either sleeping or super tired or eating, in that sense, right? So we don't have bears and tigers anymore. Our bears and tigers nowadays are things like this. During the lockdown, we're stuck at home, right? With the coronavirus, right? We don't know whether we're going to get it or not. Exams, final assessments, fierce lecturers, right? Like Dr. Alvin, maybe. I don't know whether he's fierce to you guys or not, right? So these are our bears and tigers nowadays. These are the things that scare us. Now, the question is this, right? Can you run away from COVID-19 or the lockdown? You can't. Can you kill or take down COVID-19 or the being in the lockdown? Cannot. Can you run away from Dr. Alvin? Yeah, you can, but eventually he's going to chase you and then make you find the assignment, right? So when that happens, when we can't escape it, right? When we can't fight or flight away from the source of anxiety that we have, what's going to happen is that our anxiety is going to perpetuate. It doesn't continue, right? It doesn't stop, okay? So like the one on the left-hand side, you see there's a natural spike and then it comes back down again. That's normal, correct? But because of our anxiety, we cannot get rid of those anxieties that we have. COVID-19, Dr. Alvin, traffic jams, mother-in-laws, what have you, right? Things that scare us or things that makes us anxious or nervous. Our anxiety doesn't go away, right? So when we talk about anxiety being bad, this is what's bad about anxiety nowadays. It isn't that anxiety on its own is a bad thing, no. It's anxiety that's continuous, anxiety that cannot go away, anxiety that we cannot do anything about that makes it a bad thing in that sense, right? So now the natural next question from here is this, right? So we know that it's not a bad thing. We know that prolonged anxiety that doesn't go away is the problem here that makes it very problematic for a lot of us. And we can't fight it. We can't run away from it, right? So the very next intuitive question is how now? What do we do, okay? So before we answer that question, I want to also highlight a little bit about the symptoms of anxiety so that we all know how it can look like, okay? So I borrowed this slide from Very Well. This is a website that you can guys check out online as well. Excuse me. So these are some of the common symptoms of anxiety, right? So we start from the bottom left. Hyperventilation, right? So these are the ones when you get anxious, you start breathing very rapidly. Heart palpitations is another. You feel that your heart races very quickly. Some people can get very nauseous when they're anxious. You get this a lot as well when people go for exams, for example. Like you're waiting to go in an exam hall and then suddenly you feel like you want to throw up, right? So that's a good example of anxiety. Some people get chills or hot flashes. So that means suddenly you feel that your tips of your fingers get very cold. Now, some people, they sweat, right? So they have cold sweat sometimes. Some people start trembling and shaking. Some people might also feel that their fingers and their feet get very numb and tingly, and some people might get dizzy, right? So now you might wonder, why is it that we have so many physical symptoms associated with anxiety? And if you think about this, actually makes a lot of sense, right? Remember in the second slide that I showed you guys just now, right? When we encounter a bear or something that scares us, naturally our body wants to react. So we got fight or flight. We either run away, right? Or we try and fight the problem that we are facing, correct? Now, if you think about it, when either situation, we need to get our bodies ready physically to do those kind of actions. If we don't run away, we need to get ready. If we want to fight, we also need to get ready. All these symptoms that you see on the screen right now, right, are actually your body's way of preparing to fight or flight, right? You think about it, hyperventilation. Why do we breathe faster? When we play sports, football, frisbee, whatever it is, right? When we start doing more physical activity, it's only normal that we breathe faster, right? Because we want to make sure that we have enough oxygen in our system so that our body can burn more fuel to run away or fight more. Palpitations, we want our heart to beat faster as well, so we got more blood circulating through our body, right? Chills and hot flashes, that happens because when you need to do something physical, our body draws the blood away from the extremities, your fingers, your toes, the non-essential parts of the body, more towards your heart, your lungs, your stomach, so that you can burn more fuel, for example. You sweat because the sweating will help cool your body down. So when you're doing a physical activity, you can last longer, right? Same goes with the trembling and shaking. Your muscles are contracting; they're getting ready to fight. Okay. So, like I said in the previous slide, like if you have a bear or a tiger in front of you and you need to run away or you need to fight the bear, for example, then all of these symptoms make sense, correct? But if you're sitting for an exam, is it good to be hyperventilating or have your hands shaking? No, because then your writing will be horrible. Your lecturer can't read. You go for an interview, you're sweating non-stop, and you look very non unpresentable to your interviewees, for example, interviewers, sorry. And that would be a bad thing in that sense, right? And these are some of the more common physical symptoms of anxiety. Okay, all right. So this is how it looks like. This is how anxiety can look like. Obviously, this is not the entire full list. There are also other variations of how anxiety can look like, but commonly this is how people would feel it. I'm sure some of you guys will have the same experience as well. Okay. Now we move on to the next question, right? So we have all of this ready. So what can we do about it, right? So on this slide here, just one word: breathe, right? Now, in the line of work that I do as a clinical psychologist here, breathing exercises is one of the most common, the most often used, and also the most effective technique that we can use to help combat anxiety that our clients have, right? And what I mean by this is, what we're trying to do with this is this, right? In the previous slide, I said, right, when your mind anticipates fear or something that's scary or fearful, our body reacts by tensing up, hyperventilating, and all that. So we're trying to use this same connection to help our minds calm down. And what we do by this is that if we can get our body to relax, our body to breathe normally and not hyperventilate, it's going to send a message back up to our heads and say, hey, dude, everything's okay. Don't worry about it. You're fine. Everything's all right. Don't worry. Okay. So today I want to share with you guys a really simple breathing exercise that you can do at home as well. All right. So there are a few steps involved in this. Okay. The first step that I want you guys to try and do is I want you guys to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Okay. So let's do that together on 3. And if you have a flu or something, don't worry about it. You can just breathe through your mouth, it's okay. Or you might want to go get yourself checked out, just in case, right? You never know. But if you can, breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth, all right? We'll do it together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in, breathe out. Right, one more time. Breathe in, breathe out. All right, excellent. Nicely done. Now, the second step that I want you guys to do is to breathe with your bellies, right? So if you guys put your left hand on your chest and your right hand in your bellies, and take a deep breath, right, together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in, breathe out. Okay, so I can't see all of you guys, obviously, but most of you guys would have experienced your chest muscle, your left hand, would have moved a lot more than your right hand, right? And this is actually quite normal. If you guys have children at home or young siblings or cousins or relatives at home, right, like babies, for example, and you watch them sleep, when they sleep, they breathe, right? They're like a balloon. Their whole body goes up and down, right? But for some reason or another, as we grow up to become adults, we don't do that as much. We breathe primarily through our chest, and that's it makes our breathing more shallow, in that sense, right? So when we do deep breathing, this exercise, I want you guys to breathe with your bellies, right? So when you breathe in, I want you guys to push your belly out, right? And then when you breathe out, I want you to suck your belly in, right? And the reason why we do that is because right under your chest, there's this thing called diaphragm. Those of you who are bio students or you're doing bio now, you remember that, right? When we push our bellies out, we stretch out our diaphragm, so we maximize the amount of air that goes in our stomach. Okay, so I'm going to stand up now, and hopefully you guys don't see my shorts. And I've got a big tummy, so you can see my stomach, right, quite easily. So this will show you what I mean. Okay, so when I breathe in, my stomach comes out, right? See, and then when I breathe out, I suck it back in. Okay, so by doing that, you're going to be stretching and moving the diaphragm, and you get the maximum amount of air into your system. Okay. Now, the last thing that I want you guys to do is to count, right? So when you breathe in, I want you to count to breathe in to a count of 4, hold for 3 seconds, and then breathe out to a slow count of 4, all right? And we can do that together now, all right? So let's put all the 3 steps together. So first step is breathing through your nose, not through your mouth. Second step is breathing with your belly. So when you breathe in, your belly goes out. When you breathe out, your belly sucks back in, all right? And then we do the counting together. And this little slide here will help us do that today, okay? So let's do this together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3. Then breathe out. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Very nice. Okay. Now breathe normally for a few seconds, all right? And then we'll do this again, okay, on 3. All right. 1, 2, 3. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3. And then we breathe out. 4, 3, 2, 1, stop. Very nice. All right, great. So you guys have successfully done your deep breathing exercise, okay? Now remember, this isn't supposed to replace your normal way of breathing, okay? This is supposed to be a method or a technique that you use when you're feeling anxious or when you're feeling kanchiong about something, okay? So don't do this all the time, right? So what I would recommend is that if you want to learn this technique, right, when you go to sleep at night, try doing this 15 times. So you do it 4, 3, 4, right? Like I said this now, you do it 15 times, okay? Now, the reason why I ask you to do 15 times is just to practice. It's like playing sports. You want to be a football player, for example, you can't just run on the pitch and play for 90 minutes. You're going to chow you're going to get cramp, right? So you need to train before that. So same goes with deep breathing. If you want to do it well, you need to train up, okay? Now, another good thing about deep breathing is that we find it hard to sleep at night, right? If you do the deep breathing, most of my clients, by the time they hit the 10th time, they fall asleep with you, right? Because it's very calm, it's very relaxing, and help you go off to sleep after that. It's quite nice, okay? So deep breathing is one exercise that I want to share with you guys, all right? Now, another activity that I want to share with you guys is this. It's a very simple a very simple sentence, right? What would you say to a loved one, okay? So like I established in the first few slides, right? Our sources of anxiety or how we anticipate anxiety is all in our minds, right? So let's say, for example, you are a hunter. Let's say you are a orang asli hunter kind of thing. Like you are used to going to the jungle, hunting for food and things like that. If you saw a tiger or a bear, you'd be quite, it's a bear, I know what to do. I can run up a tree or I can kill the bear. It's okay, I know what to do. But if I was in the jungle, I'm a fairly big size city boy. If I go to the jungle and I see a tiger, gone. I don't know what to do. I'm going to panic, correct? So the difference between me and a hunter is what we know, our anticipation of that fear or what we're afraid of in that sense. If I know what to do when I see a tiger or bear, I won't be afraid, correct? So this question is important because it helps us change the perspectives on the things that we're afraid of, right? And the line goes, what would you say to a loved one, right? So for example, if you are super afraid of exams right now and your exam is tomorrow, right? Imagine if your best friend or your boyfriend, your girlfriend, or whoever it is came to you with the same problem. Say, hey, you know what? Let's randomly pick a name here. Ice One, the Ice One, right? Ice One, you know what? I'm super panicking right now. I'm going to have exam tomorrow. I don't know what to do. I don't know if I study enough or not, and things like that, right? So Ice One, if you were the friend, what would you say to your friend, right? Ice One, do you have what do you think? What would you say to your friend?
Say it has been it has been a while since I have taken any exams, but I would say just breathe. I can't tell them that. Yeah, I can't tell them that it's all going to be okay because I don't know how they're going to do. But can do what I can do is just let them, try to assuage them a bit without assuring them that they will get an A or.
Right. Do the best that you can and see what happens. You've done your best already, that kind of thing, right? Okay, great. Thank you very much. So you see, the reason why this particular question is powerful is because of this, right? And I'll give you an example why this is powerful, right? So most of you guys who, I'm assuming you guys are mostly students, so there's quite a few of you guys who will be living with your parents, right? So imagine last time in high school, SPM, PMR that time, right? You get, say you go get your results, you get like 4 A's, 3 B, which is pretty darn good if you think about it, right? You come back home, you show your parents. What do your parents say? Hey, how come I cannot get 3 A's? How come I got 3 B's? Why cannot get 7 A's, like, for example? Okay, right? Makes sense, right? And then you are thinking, wow, how come my parents so high expectations? I got 4 A's, 3 B, quite good already, someone better. Okay, never mind. Then over the weekend, or maybe a few weeks later, you go to your cousin's house for dinner, right? And your cousin comes back and also doing the PMR, for example, right? And then your parents ask your cousin, hey, what did you give for PMR, boy? And your cousin says, yeah, six C's, for example. What does your parents say to your cousin? Good try, next time can do better. Never mind, PMR not important, SPM can try again, all right? So why is it that with other people, our parents are so kind, but with ourselves, with our own children, we're so harsh, right? Again, this is not for everybody, but for a lot of people, this is the experience that we will have, right? So the same idea applies here. When we judge ourselves, when we criticize ourselves, we're actually usually very harsh on ourselves. So when you guys think about it as well, those are life experiences that you had. Maybe you scratch your car, you lose your wallet, you drop your phone, for example. One of the first few thoughts that we have in our head, oh, how come I'm so stupid? How come I'm so careless? I should have done better. I should have known better, for example. But if this happened to a friend of ours or best friend, boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever it is, we're usually much kinder, right? It's okay. It's just a phone and get it repaired. I know you lost your wallet, but luckily all of us use e-wallets and credit cards. So you just need to replace your ICs and driving license nowadays. So it's not too bad. It's still quite manageable. Yeah. So the reason why I want you guys to use this question, why would you say to a loved one when you feel anxious, is because if you can be kind to your loved one, if you can be kind to your boyfriend and girlfriend and say, you know what, it's all right, this is what you can do instead. Why can't you do the same for yourself? Okay. So I'm trying to play on that, the changing perspectives here. If you can be kind to your friend, kind to your girlfriend or family member or whatever it is, you can be kind to yourself as well. Right? So very important statement to remember here. Okay. So I was given about half an hour to speak. So I think I'm about 25-minute mark here, so which is just nice, I think. So we've covered a few things today. Just to recap, we talked about anxiety, whether anxiety is a bad thing or not. And I argue it's totally not, right? Anxiety is actually a good thing for us. It helps us manage, it helps us survive, make sure we don't get hurt or injured or anything like that. And I also argued that the fact that what makes anxiety bad is when it's prolonged, right? When it doesn't go away, when it stays there forever. So if we can't get rid of the situation through running away or through fighting, for example, so the next time we see some situation that scares us, or Dr. Alvin, for example, that scares you, what we can do is manage ourselves. Do the deep breathing. Use this question, for example, what will you say to a loved one to manage the anxiety that we have? Okay. All right. So with that, I think I'll say thank you very much, and I think we've got a short Q&A section after this, right? So
Yes, Dr. Joel. Thank you, Dr. Joel, for the
no
talk.
problem.
Now I will need to share my screen for a while. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so if you have any question, please feel free to ask the question in Mentimeter with the code 875517 or scan the QR code over here. So now I will move on to Mentimeter slide and see the question. So Dr. Joel, this is all the question that we have from the audience. Do I need to read out for you?
No, I can pick out some myself, no worries.
Okay.
Hold on, let me reply to something in the chat. Someone to say something.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. This one in yellow. Do you have any exercises or tips to lower anxiety when it comes to doing assignments? I feel like I can't focus at all when I'm trying to do my assignments, and then I panic because the deadline is getting closer and my assignment is not done. Yep, so this is a really common anxiety point for a lot of students, right? So that one that I said just now, the deep breathing, that's actually a really good exercise to use, because that's something you can do any time of the day, in any situation, whether you're at home or you're in Starbucks or in school, you can do it. And no one's going to look at you funny because you're just breathing, right? So that's a really good exercise to do. Another good one that you can do, especially when it has to do with assignments. So the thing about assignments is that you know about it beforehand, so you can sort of kind of plan for it, correct? So a good way to manage anxiety is to break down your assignment. So instead of saying it's like a 1,000-word paper on what depression is, for example, right? You can break it down into that paper on depression is actually 5 different parts. What is depression? How does it happen? How do I treat it? So there's like 3, 4, 5 different parts. So you set yourself like mini goals, so that way it's not so overwhelming. It's more manageable. It's like bite-sized chunks, in that sense, you can do, right? And the final thing that I would suggest is to exercise as much as you can. Like I said earlier on in the presentation, your mind and your body are linked, right? So if your mind is anxious, your body will react. So same thing goes here. Like, if you can go for exercises, work out, relax yourself a little bit physically, work out physically, your mind is going to follow suit and be more calmer and be more alert as well. So you'll be able to handle assignments a bit better. Okay. All right, that's a good one. Let's see what's the next question here. This one in red in the center. I feel anxious when I think about or when I'm doing my assignments. Most of the time, the point that I don't think I can finish my assignments. The only tips how to overcome this. Oh, okay, same as just now. Never mind, you can skip to another one. Let's keep this one the same, right? What was the green one over there? How can we tell the difference between having a normal anxiety feeling and about an anxiety disorder? How does one differentiate between the two? Very good question, all right? So the textbook's answer is that, as a clinical psychologist, when I want to diagnose somebody, I will use something called the DSM-5, which is Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Health Disorders, right? Fancy name, but basically it's a Bible that we use to where all the symptoms of different anxieties are listed, and we use that to diagnose our clients, yeah? But for the general population, for all of you guys, right, the main difference between normal anxiety and having an anxiety disorder is functioning, right? So usually when we see our clients, right, the first thing we want to look out for is social and occupational functioning. What this means is that, and we break it down, right, social and occupational, right, is how well you're functioning in your life, right? So the first one is social. How well are you functioning socially? So you have some anxiety, but you're still able to go out with friends, interact with your friends, be around your family members, talk to them and things like that. And you're still okay, that means you're functioning quite well socially, right? Occupationally means that if you're going to school or you're working, for example, you're still able to do the tasks that you have, finish your assignments, do your group assignments and all that, means you're still doing okay. Now, if you notice that you have anxiety, and because of the anxiety, these two areas are deteriorating, means you can't interact with people socially, you can't function occupationally, right? Then perhaps there's a good chance there's an anxiety disorder going on, right? But again, don't diagnose yourself, don't go and Google, type it out, because confirm that they'll say you got GAD, OCD, everything you have, right? If you think you have, I know the Sunway has a student life center, if I'm not mistaken, go talk to someone there. They've got lots of good counselors, lots of good clinical psychologists, they'll be able to help you out. Best case scenario, nothing wrong with normal anxiety. Worst case scenario, you do have anxiety and they can help you out with it. Okay, all right, hope that answers that question. Let's see what's next. Serena, why don't you pick one for me? I can drink some water. What will you pick?
How about this one?
Every time I start worrying and overthinking, my mind loses focus and my chest gets tight. Is that anxiety? Yep. I think that's quite a common, what's the word I'm using? Common step-by-step process of how anxiety will form. Okay. So it's quite a good example here, right? Because you think about something, right? It's just one thought, right? For example, oh no, government extend lockdown by another 2 weeks, right? This one simple thought that doesn't mean anything, right? But from that one thought, we're gonna start having a lot of different kind of thoughts because of it, right? What am I going to eat for dinner? I can't see my boyfriend. I got assignment to do, but I don't know how to do. I need to ask my friend, but my friend not around to teach me. I can't go to university, for example, and play basketball because that's how I like to release my stress, for example. So from that one thought, government extend lockdown by 2 more weeks, I have all these subsequent and anxious thoughts that come about, right? And because of that, like I said just now, right, our mind perceives the anxiety, perceives that fear and stress, our body reacts. So that's why your chest is tightening up, right? So that's actually a very typical manifestation of anxiety, right? So for you, buddy, try the deep breathing techniques and see whether that works out or not. Usually when your chest feels tight, you breathe into it, you open up your chest, you feel much better after that. So try that out and see, okay? All right, great. Serena, what's next?
How do I know when to seek help?
Right. So this is another really good question, and I'll go back to my earlier answer on the social and occupational functioning. Right. So I think if you start noticing that, be it your anxiety or depression or anything at all that you're going through, if you find that it starts disrupting your ability to live your life, that means, you're afraid to go to school, you're afraid to talk to people, you don't want to engage in your group assignments, for example. Every time you think about studying for exam, you just panic and you freak out, for example. Then it's a really good indication that, I think you need to go and seek help in that sense. And again, don't forget that when you see a counselor or clinical psychologist, you don't have to be crazy to go see someone in that sense, right? The old school thinking is that I say counselor psychologist means I'm crazy already, right? But assuming you guys are in the psychology club, I hope you guys don't think like that, hopefully, right? Nowadays, people use therapy sessions. They see a counselor or therapist to check and see, even there's nothing wrong also, maybe something wrong, I'm not sure, I'll go and check and see just to make sure. It's the same like you guys going to see doctors as well. I think I've got dengue, I'm not sure, I got some spots on my hand, I got fever, I think I better go to doctor and check out and see. Again, no, best case scenario, nothing. Worst case scenario, yes, I have it, but I'm with a doctor now and I get good treatment in that sense. So hopefully that answers your question. When to seek help.
Doctor, do you want to choose?
Yeah. Let's see. What's this thing on the right? I can't see it. This one on the bottom right. Does being around with a certain kind of people cause you anxiety? This is actually a pretty interesting question, right? So depending on the way you see anxiety, this answer can change a little bit. Not by much, but there are some variations. So for me, for example, I'm a cognitive behavior therapist. So I do CBT with my clients, right? So the way I see problems with my clients or mental health disorders in my clients, it's always very personal, right? So, and what I mean by that is, so let's say Joel, the client has anxiety. It's because Joel's way of viewing the world or seeing the world is flawed or disrupted in some way or form, like in that sense, right? So because of that, every time I see a situation or occurrence in my life, it's always going to be worst case scenario, sure die, I cannot do it, I'm going to fail. So because of that, I have a lot of anxiety, correct? So to answer this question, right, does being around with a certain kind of people cause you anxiety? My answer to you is maybe, right? The reason why I say maybe is it depends on how much you let them affect you in that sense. So if you're around people who are super anxious, but you're like, you're anxious, that's your problem, not mine, then naturally you won't be anxious yourself, right? But if you are someone who is very perceptive towards other people's emotions and you go hang around people, then they're happy, then you're happy, they sad also, then you sad, then you are more likely to be more susceptible to being anxious yourself, like if you're around people who are very anxious, for example, or who trigger you, for example. Okay? Very good question. I like that one. All right, thanks, Serena. How prevalent is anxiety among students in your practice experience? Bottom left there. This one is actually quite common, actually, and not just among students, to be fair, it's just across the board. Depression, anxiety in our line of work, we call them our bread and butter clients. It's because it happens, everyone has some form of depression and anxiety, just how severe only. So anxiety is actually one of the very, very common ones. So if you guys have anxiety, dude, it's very normal. Everyone has it, Even me coming today also, right? I'm like getting ready for my presentation today, preparing my slides. So I start getting a bit anxious, a bit conjunced, like, oh no, make sure I wear pants, make sure I change my shirt, don't do anything crazy or stupid that people laugh at me, right? And it's a normal part of being human, right? Anxiety is a very normal thing for all of us, right? So among students, definitely very normal. Among Sunway students, I think even more normal because you guys have very high standards. You guys study them a lot, I know. So yeah, it's very normal, right? Good question. Thank you. Let's see. The one in blue on the bottom right. How do we help friends who self-diagnose with anxiety? Is it something that we can help with on our own, or should they seek professional help? Very good question, right? So this one, right? There are a few things to take into consideration. Okay. Now, you guys are psych students, yes, right? I mean, obviously, I know there are some people who are not students or watching this feed as well, but quite a number of you guys are psych students, I believe, right? Now, the thing to remember about this is this, right? We help when we can, right? We help because we want to, not because we have to. Okay, that's a very important distinction here, because a lot of times people would help because they feel like I have to help my friend. If not, they're so poor thing, I won't be a good friend and all that kind of things. And I get that, but when it becomes overwhelming for yourself, what's going to happen is that you're going to get anxious, you're going to get depressed. So instead of having one client, you've got two clients now, which is going to be bad for everybody in that sense, right? So what I'm trying to say here is that if you have someone who's got anxiety, who's freaking out, who's having a panic attack, for example, then you definitely try and help them as much as you can. But when you feel that you're being overwhelmed, when you feel like you've reached a point where I literally don't know what to do anymore, then that's when you start seeking referring out for help in that sense. Okay, don't ever feel the need to do more than what you're comfortable or what you can. Okay. And the second thing is, don't also forget that when you refer your friend to see a counselor or a therapist or whatever it is, you are also helping them a lot, right? Because sometimes they might be worried about the stigma. They say, oh, you know what, if I go alone, it'll be so embarrassing. Then you can offer to go with them, right? Or, for example, they might not even know that Sunway has a student life center where there are counselors and clinical psychologists there, right? So you're helping them share information with them. So you're helping a lot in that sense as well. Okay, very nice question. Thank you. Let's see what else. Anything that sticks out to you?
Doctor, you choose a question. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's the second one. The one in the middle, the one in the brown box. Is it bad to distract myself when I find myself feeling overwhelmed? Yep. This is a very interesting question, right? Because it's a yes and no answer to this question. When we're feeling anxious, whether it's studying, working, or whatever it is, right? It's not a bad idea to distract yourself because, like I said just now, the more your mind perceives threat or something that's scary or fearful, your body is going to react with anxiety and panic and all that, which makes a lot of sense, right? But at the same time, right? Before that, so when you distract yourself, it's good because you don't think about it, your body calms down, and then you're better able to tackle the problem. Now, that's when distraction is good. Distraction is bad when you use it non-stop, okay? So that means every time you're anxious, you distract yourself. You go play a game, you go on your phone, text a friend or whatever it is. So every time you're anxious, you distract yourself. So when it comes to a point where you're distracting yourself so much that you can't do your assignment or finish your work, then that's a bad thing, okay? So you got to find a balance. So usually with my clients, what I tell them to do is you distract yourself first, right? So you're feeling anxious, you distract yourself and all that kind of things. And then after you feel calmer, instead of going back to your work or your task or whatever it is that you're doing, you don't do that first. You start problem solving. Okay. So like with the assignment example I give you this now, right? Instead of saying, okay, now I have to tackle a 1,000-word essay on depression, I tell myself, okay, no. Don't look at it as one entire assignment. I'll break it up into 5 different chunks and I'll just work on one chunk a day. Right. And then you start doing it again. So the whole sequence of events is like this, right? I'm very anxious, I cannot do my work, so I distract myself. Once I feel calmer, I start breaking up the big task into small little chunks. Then when I start doing it, my anxiety doesn't go all the way up again. It just goes a little bit here, right? Then I can do my assignment, finish up that one portion. Then I feel better again, right? And then I do the next day, I do the next section again. And it goes up a little bit here and then back to normal again, all right? So that's how I'll answer this question, all right? Let's see what else here. I like the one you read. Hi, Joel. How does wanting to be perfect cause anxiety? Definitely. All right. So this is what we call a colloquial term that I've heard people use before. It's called FOMO, fear of missing out, right? So they want to be perfect. They want to do everything 100% wonderfully, nicely done, no flaws, nothing like that, right? Now, my question to you is this, okay? Is there such a thing as perfect, right? If I ask you guys to think about one perfect person in your lives or in the world right now, can you tell me something? Chances are you cannot, right? Even people like Mahatma Gandhi, Mother Teresa also, as wonderful, saintly people they have their own flaws as well. There are some criticisms about them and who they are and what they do. So there's no such thing as perfect in this world, right? Now, you might argue that, oh, but in high school, I always got straight A's, 100%, perfect marks and all that. Yeah, that's understandable because it's high school and primary school, right? Things are still relatively more manageable and easier, right? If you think about it, right, in high school, I can get 100% for my exams. Okay, wonderful. Now you move on to university, right? I say, okay, university also want to be perfect. I want to get 100% for all my exams, right? There is a chance you still can do it, but probably you can't. Like I'm sure Dr. Alvin, as nice as he is, when it comes to marking, he's quite a strict marker, for example, in that sense. So you're not getting 100%, but you're still getting A's, you're still getting your high distinctions and all that. Okay, still can give you a chance. But when you start work next time, right? When you get married, when you have kids, is there such a thing as a perfect worker, perfect employee, perfect husband or wife, or perfect father or mother? No such thing. There's no such thing as perfect anymore. And the worst part is there's no marks or no grading system. It's not like your wife will tell you every day, okay, Joel, this year you get a distinction for being a father, husband, credit for being a father. You're not going to get grades like that anymore. Right? And when you start losing the ability to gauge or to measure yourself, how well you're doing, and you keep wanting to be perfect, that's when a lot of anxiety will kick in because I don't know how well I'm doing. Right? So this is definitely one big cause of anxiety. Yeah? All right. Thanks, Rina. That's a really good question. Let's see. Anything else? Let's see. Is anxiety related to low confidence? The one on the bottom left. Yeah, it can be, right? So that means when you don't have good confidence about your abilities, you don't have, you're not sure about whether you can do something or not, then naturally you become anxious because of it, right? Because you don't know what you can do or what you cannot do and things like that, right? And it's also the same vice versa. The more anxious you are, even though it's something that you're really good at, like I don't know, riding a bicycle or playing League of Legends or something, I don't know. Because you feel so anxious about it, then naturally you don't do as well as you can. So it's definitely correlated. Now, whether it's causation or not, I can't tell you that because it's different from person to person, but it's definitely very high correlations. So if you don't need to do this answer, you need to go back and study your stats again, okay? So psych students, remember that. Non-psych students, it's okay. Psych students, remember that, right? Right, thank you. Oh, this one in the center. I always get anxious when talking to people because I over-assume a lot. I'm a bother to them. They don't want to bother me. Do you have any tips? Yeah. So this is another really good example of how the thoughts that we have in our head really perpetuate or create the anxiety that we feel, right? And think about it, right? All these thoughts that you have, I'm a bother to them. They don't want to talk to me. All these things are your own thoughts. It's not like the people there said, you know what? I don't know. Let's think of a name here. Agnes, you know what? Agnes, you are really noisy. Stop talking to me. No one's ever said that to you before, correct? These are the kind of thoughts that we have, right? We are assuming or we are mind reading, okay? Now, the problem with mind reading is this, right? We don't know whether they want to talk to us or not. We mind read and assume that they don't want to talk to us. So because of that, I'm anticipating or I'm assuming that I know what this person is thinking about when we have no idea. So you're making yourself anxious, making yourself very nervous or scared for no reason in that sense, because you just don't know. I mean, it's possible that they don't want to talk to you, but until you talk to them, you won't know. But there's also very likely that they want to talk to you, they want to engage with you, they want to be your friend, right? So whenever you have these kind of thoughts, right, whoever asked this question, right, remember that question that I asked us now? What would you say to your best friend? This is a very good question to ask when you're encountering something like this. So the next time you feel really anxious about talking to people and you have all these kind of thoughts, you think about it, right? Ask yourself this question, right? If my best friend Agnes came to me and asked me, and told me this, like, I'm afraid to talk to that guy because I don't want to bother him, right? What would you say to this person, right? What would you say to Agnes? Chances are you say something along the lines of, you know what, just talk to him. Now, what's the worst that can happen? You don't want to talk to you anymore. And if he doesn't talk to you, then okay, then you know, then you can find someone else to talk to. Best case scenario, he talks to you and you guys become friends after that. Okay? All right, hope that helps. Serena, how much time do we have?
I guess around 20 minutes. Yeah.
10 more minutes?
20 more minutes?
20 more minutes, okay.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Sometimes okay, let's do the one on the bottom right, Serena. Sometimes I feel really sad. Sometimes I feel really sad and feel anxious that things won't go well no matter how hard I try. This is a sign of anxiety or depression, or just stress because I'm studying and there's a lot of assignments coming in nowadays. Okay. Now it's a good question because there are lots of different elements into it, and I can talk about a few different things, right? So the first one, I'll start with the last part here. And you said there's a lot of assignments coming in, so maybe that's why you feel this way. So this is important to take note of because sometimes in life, we're going to have periods in our life where we're super stressed out. Sometimes we have periods in life when we're super chillaxed, no issue, right? For example, when you're studying for your exams, for example, like the month before the exams, you're obviously going to feel really stressed out about it, right? But instant you write the final word, hand in the final paper of your exam period, how do you feel after that? Fantastic. The weight's lifted off your shoulders, you feel great after that, okay? So if you're feeling the way that you feel right now because it's the assignment period, then yeah, this is absolutely normal. There's nothing to worry about. But if outside of the assignment period, outside of the exam period, and also you still feel this way, then I'd probably be a bit more worried in that sense. Then it could be potentially a sign that something is going on, or whether it's anxiety or depression or even bad stress, chronic stress for that matter. Okay. Now, sometimes I feel really sad and feel anxious that things won't go well no matter how hard I try. Now, this is a very interesting thought to have, and this is a thought you need to be careful about, right? Remember how earlier on I said that our mind is really good at creating different scenarios and different thoughts, right? From one small thing, we can replicate to more and more things, right? This is one of those thoughts that has the potential of mutating into a lot of different scary, bad, negative things in that sense, right? So the next time you start feeling this way, you want to really try and rein it in and try and challenge those thoughts that you have in that sense. Tell yourself that, use the questions that I suggested, the deep breathing. And if it's something that really doesn't go away, I might even suggest that you want to go see someone with Student Life Center just in case. All right? Again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with you, but like I said before, it's better to be safe than sorry. Okay? All right. Hope that answers that question. Let's see, what else do we have? How do we know that person decided we answered that already? okay, bottom right, the red square, is it normal that sometimes I don't like to interact with big crowds? Is it a sign of anxiety? Yeah, so this is a good example of anxiety. So depending on how severe it is, it could be social anxiety, where you're afraid of social interactions, or if it's really extreme, it could be something like agoraphobia, where you don't want to get out of your home. You want to stay at home. You don't want to go out to large groups, places with large groups of people in that sense, right? So it definitely is a sign of anxiety. But again, it depends on how severe it is. Don't like to interact versus cannot interact is two very different things in that sense. If you don't like but still can, then I think I would argue that you're still okay, depending on the different scenarios here. But if you don't like and you don't want to and I cannot, then I think that's probably more likely to be anxiety or something more serious in that sense. Okay. All right. Let's see what's the next one here.
Doctor.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we have to pick 3 more questions to answer, and I think we're gonna end the session. Yeah, just
no
3
problem.
more questions. Yeah.
Okay, Serena, why don't you pick one, then I'll pick the other 2.
How about this one?
Okay. If I keep on vomiting and can't focus on daily life normally, is it anxiety? I just focus on work, afraid and can't sleep well, how to solve? Yeah, I think if it's causing you to have such a strong physical reaction so often, right? I think definitely it's anxiety, or if not anxiety, something else is occurring, right? So I think it might be a good idea for you to go and see someone and get some help. If you're a student, like I said, go to the Student Life Center and see someone. If not, there are lots of good resources online that you can find, either at you just search online, you can find many things, right? If you guys go to reachin.my, I think, or reach.com, I can't remember. It's a directory where there's lots of different mental providers that you can check out, or you can go to the Malaysian Society of Clinical Psychologists website, mscp.my, and there's also again a list of providers that you can check out and see, right? So because my main worry here is that the physical reaction, if you're vomiting all the time like that, I think it's best to be safe. You want to check someone and see. In terms of how to solve, I think, again, if I'm thinking worst case scenario here, then I think therapy will be good because it's causing you such physical reactions, right? But if let's say you don't want to try that, just do the deep breathing that I talked about. Go online, go to YouTube, type in mindfulness meditation, try that out and see. And also progressive muscle relaxation. Those are some good exercises to help with anxiety. And if those still don't work, then I would probably suggest that maybe you want to see someone just in case. Okay. All right, great. Let's see. We've answered that one. Yeah, that's fine. Any other? Okay, the last one we covered. So you can go up a bit. Maybe we can find one more.
Okay.
A little bit more. Okay, pause.
Okay.
Right. So I think I'll answer 2 last ones. Let's start the yellow one box in the left. Is it possible for anxiety to go away as we get older? Some people say they used to care about what others say, but as they go older, they care less. Is it possible for it to go away over time? Yes. And it's not so much an older situation. It's really about what's important to you. That's the key factor here. Right. So the reason why I say this is because, right, so for example, last time when you were in kindergarten, let's say for example, what's the thing that's most important to you? To have the latest Transformer, to have the latest Paw Patrol toy or whatever it is, right? And I can be the most popular kid in school, right? Fast forward to university now, is having the best toy or the most popular toy the most important? No. Right now, things that are important to us are things like what? Assignments, whether I can get a job or not, exams and things like that, right? So the reason why people say as we get older, we care less is because as we get older, we find or we reprioritize the things that we have in life. There are going to be things that are going to be more important and things that are going to be less important, right? Again, assuming most of you guys here are uni students, right? About what, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 years old, that kind of age group. At this age, our natural drive is to socialize and connect with people. So that's why being popular is important. Knowing a lot of people is important. Having the most number of Instagram followers on Instagram is important because that's what's important to us in our current stage of development. But as we get older, once you hit your 30s and 40s, for example, you start to realize that, perhaps that all these connections are important, but they're not as important as quality, right? So I want quality over quantity, right? So that's why people say when they get older, then they care less. But it's not actually the age thing. Even right now, also, if you guys start realizing or recognizing that I don't need to have 1,000 friends, I need 10 friends who I love and care about a lot, I'll be much less stressed. I'll be much less anxious in that sense, right? So yes, time can help, but even more practical or more effective or efficient is for you to have that conversation with yourself. What's really important to you, and that will help manage your anxiety. Okay, Serena, and I'll ask that last question in that green box in the center there. My parents will often argue and I will always be dragged into it. Every time there's a fight about to start, my anxiety rises and I often feel drained of energy after that, and my anxiety doesn't subside. What should I do? All right. Look, I think this is a really good question because it highlights what I said earlier on, right? We feel anxious, we feel kanchong, we feel scared about something because of our own perceptions about a situation, right? Right now, when your parents are fighting, it doesn't directly or technically affect you, but because of our thoughts associated with the fight, then we become very anxious. For example, we might have thoughts like, are they going to stay together? Am I going to get dragged into it? Are they arguing about me? Are they going to blame me, for example? And all these kind of catastrophic, kind of very negative kind of thoughts are what makes you anxious, because you don't know. There are a lot of uncertainties and unknowns in that sense, right? And the draining of energy you feel is because, like I said just now, right, when you get anxious, when you get stressed out, naturally your body goes into fight or flight mode and you start getting ready, very kanchong, you want to run away or fight, you don't know. But because you're just stuck there in that situation, you're constantly on edge. And then what's going to happen is that you after that you feel very tired, right? It's like you're playing a game like Dota or whatever it is. You turn on your ulti, but there's no one around you, so you wasted all the energy, and then you're stuck. You don't know what to do after that, right? And the anxiety doesn't go away because you just don't know when the next fight is going to happen or what's going to happen next, right? In this kind of situations, what you should do, right? The immediately during that situation, a good thing to do would be the deep breathing, because that will be really good in helping you manage the anxiety at that moment, at that time. But after you're done, what you can do is to use that question I asked us now. What would you tell your best friend? If your best friend came to you and told you the exact same situation, my parents are fighting a lot and I get super kanchong, super anxious when that happens, what can I do? Use that to try and guide the way you can change the thoughts that you have. Another thing that you can do really well is to focus in on yourself, right? When your parents start fighting, ask yourself, why am I getting so anxious? Why am I so panicky here? What's going on with me? How does it affect me? Why does it affect me? Okay. And by asking yourself that question, my hope is that you're able to start answering that question, answering those questions to those, answering the questions that you have. And it will lead you to understand or realize that, you know what, they're fighting because they've got adult problems to fight about. It doesn't involve me. Even if they're arguing about me, so that's their responsibility, not mine, because I cannot control that. There's something very little I can do to control what they're fighting about, in that sense. Yeah. And hopefully that will give you some separation and a little bit of relief from that. Okay. But again, like all my other answers before this, if it gets to a point where it's starting to affect you socially, occupationally, it affects your ability to rest, to sleep, to socialize and interact with people, then perhaps it's a good idea for you to reach out for help as well. Okay? All right, I hope that helps. Okay, Serena, I'll stop talking now. I think I've talked enough.
Yeah, okay. So our webinar has now come to an end. The Sunway Psychology Club would like to sincerely thank Dr. Joel for taking his time to be here with us today and sharing his insightful knowledge and experience with us. So we hope all of you, yeah? Yes, Dr.
Yeah, can I just share something really quick on my screen? Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I stop sharing.
Yes, thank you. Right, just wanted to share my contact information. So in case you guys want to reach out or ask any questions or anything, you can. But I cannot find my PowerPoint. Where did it go? There it is. Okay, let me share that. Where did it go? I'm press share again. There we go. Okay, so I just wanted to share my contact information here. So if anybody wants to reach out or wants to ask a question or anything like that, you can contact me on our company website, either at themind.com.my, because there will be a contact form that you can fill up, or you can just drop us an email at contact@themind.com.my, or give us a call as well. Okay. All right, Serena, thank you very much. Thank you for having me, guys. Thanks for listening to me lab for the past 1 hour. Hopefully it helped. Yeah.
Yes, we help, but before we end, yeah, this this is the contact that for Dr. Jael, right? Yeah, everyone can just reach the My Psychology Service and Training website to look for Dr. Jael or listen to the podcast in Light Breakfast.
Oh, thank you. Oh, yes, that's that too.
Yeah. So before we actually end, can I have a group picture? So if everyone is comfortable, can you just turn on your webcam and we will have a group picture of it. Hold on, yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah. Okay.
This is a new normal. So instead of like a selfie, you know. If you don't have a webcam, it's okay. But for those who have a webcam, this would be cool.
Okay. So I'm gonna screenshot our beautiful picture right now. Okay. So 1, 2, 3. Okay. Once again, thank you, Dr. Jael, for having your time at here. And we really, we really gained some useful knowledge from your talk. And yeah, okay. So our session will end right here. Thank you, everyone, for coming today. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Wash your hands,
Thank you.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.